The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton is brought to you by Dubby. What is Dubby? Dubby is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crash, jitters, or angst like those other energy drinks have. They also have no maltodextrin fillers and don't use artificial dyes. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. Dubby's products are made in the USA in an FDA-inspected facility that strictly adheres to GMP manufacturing guidelines. All of the flavors are unique and custom-made by Dubby, and you'll never taste our taste anywhere else. The best part about it is they're affordable. Dubby's drinks come out to about $1 per drink, much cheaper than Starbucks or any of those canned energy drinks. To learn more, visit w.gg.com/MRTipton33 and place your order today. Use promo code MrTipton33 and save today. Dubby Energy, be better. Are you a fellow car guy? I have a 2008 Ford Mustang GT convertible, and nothing makes me happier in that car than when it's nice and clean. And you know who helps me get there? RevAutoCarCare.com. They help me get that pony looking as nice and shiny and ready for any of the car meetups that are all around the great city of El Paso. Spoil your car and go to RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton and view all the inventory they have and find out what works for you to help make your ride shine. RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton. Use promo code Tipton33 at checkout to save 15%. We all know there's hundreds of betting sites out there, but don't be fooled. Some sites are legal in some states only. Some sites pay in Bitcoin, and some sites have even been hacked. BetUS, however, has been in business for over 30 years. Future bets are paying out in the thousands, and if you act right now, you can still bet on the biggest games in sports. Visit BetUS.com, or you can click the link at nessp.info. BetUS, check it out and bet responsibly. It is time for the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, hanging out with you here on a Thursday morning, February 27th. We are live on X, on YouTube, on Facebook, and, of course, on Roku via National Streaming Sports. Shout out to my friends over at National Streaming Sports. If you saw yesterday, I was on the National Professional Sports Show. We were talking all kinds of stuff, all kinds of fun stories that were out there. I was getting called out on the lack of I guess, victories that the Dallas Cowboys have had over the last 30 years, and I can't run away from it. The Dallas Cowboys have been absolutely garbage for the last 30 years, but you know what? I love them. The same way your parents still love you, even though you're a massive disappointment and you'll never sound like me, you'll never look like me, they still love you. And that's exactly the way that I feel about the Dallas Cowboys. I still love them. No matter how bad they are to me, I still love them. Shout out to Jesse Carter and Tommy Carranza, who have tuned in right away, right off the bat. Augustine saying, good morning. Are we on Roku? We are on Roku with our friends over at National Streaming Sports. Check out all the stuff that they have to offer over there, coast to coast with Bo Crouch. Of course, Prim and Proper Sports with Sonia Pearson. And as you see most Wednesdays, I am hanging out with Jack or Mac and the crew as we do the National Professional Sports Show. That's normally Wednesdays at about 4 o'clock here in El Paso. Appointment listening, appointment viewing is what that all comes down to. Augustine saying, so we can't be ourselves today? I'm always myself. What are we talking about? We can't be myself. It's normally I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the way I grew up, youngest of 11, right? Maybe it's all the other things that are out there. I just use certain words a little more often than other people use certain words. And I'm just realizing at this moment that I look like I am damn near a Vin Diesel wannabe with the V neck and the bald head and all that. And there's one thing I'm going to let you know. It's all about family. Linda McGrath saying, good morning, Michael Robert Tipton. Have a great show. Merci beaucoup. I appreciate that so much. I will have myself a great show. Again, a lot of stuff that we're going to get into today. The NFL Players Association yesterday releases their report cards on teams and where teams line up. How awesome are these teams? How bad are these teams? Etc., etc. All of the stuff that goes on out there. Of course, the NFL draft has some stuff coming up. We are going to continue our series that we've been doing. What teams need by division. Today, we're going to start off with the AFC South. So we're looking at the Jaguars, we're looking at the Texans, we're looking at the Titans, and we're looking at the Indianapolis Colts. All four of those teams, not the hottest of garbage, but still pretty damn bad. So we'll talk about them coming up as well. And of course, what I wanted to start today's show off with was the fact that there were rumblings out there. I love whenever that happens. There's always a rumblings. It's like, at least that's how I imagine rumblings to be, right? Like you go up to your friend, and you're like, I don't know why I turned into Adam Sandler right there. Like, I don't know why I did that, but hey, you know what? That's what rumblings sound like to me, right? The rumblings were out there that the NFL is considering changing the overtime rules in the regular season to decrease the advantage for teams that win the coin toss. Yesterday on the National Professional Sports Show, we were talking about the fact that the tush push. I was going to say, hey, don't do that. I've got you on headphones only. Well, why not? I mean, if there's any way to listen to me, it's going to be just directly through the headphones, ramming this amazing voice just over and over into your ear canal. Nothing is better than that. Or unless you're talking about the Adam Sandler stuff where I do all of that, right? So Augustine saying the NFL is messing with the game too damn much. And we were talking about this yesterday on the National Professional Sports Show. The NFL mulling over, right? The rumblings again. The rumblings again of, will the NFL make the tush push illegal? Should the NFL make the tush push illegal? Now, I come from a different style, and I'm sure most of the people watching this come from the exact same style of, if you can't stop it, I ain't changing what the hell I'm doing, right? I used to do this a lot with basketball. I'm ambidextrous. I can shoot a basketball with either hand. You shut down my right hand, cool. I will start shooting with my left hand. And if you shut down my left hand, I'm going to start shooting with my right hand, right? And I can go off the dribble. I can do whatever it is that I need to do in order to score. And I remember being 5'10", and my basketball coach putting me in as a point guard, being guarded by dudes that were like 5'1", 5'2", and it felt like this is how Shaq must feel on a mismatch, right? So I would go, and as a point guard, I'm backing them down, getting into the paint, little fake over to the left, go up with a little lefty hook, right? Off the glass, it goes in, and I always got that's all you can do. That's all you can do. That's just all you can do. And I would turn around and say, stop it. If you know that's what I'm going to do, stop it, right? It's the Larry Bird thing. Larry Bird, the legend of Larry Bird. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to make the bucket. And there's not anything you're going to do that's going to be able to stop it, right? Philadelphia has done this long enough. Teams just haven't made the adjustment. And the comp that we got yesterday was, well, Chris Jones got hurt, in this play. That's what happens when you lay down on the damn field horizontally, perpendicularly, parallel with the ball, right? With the line of scrimmage. If you're parallel with the line of scrimmage, you're perpendicular to everyone that's going to be coming towards you, you're going to get hurt. It's going to happen. You have zero leverage. You have zero way of, you're just going to have your body there as a big lump on the log. You're like, what, 305? If you want to be a huge lump on the log, you got to be 500 pounds. Maybe that's what we've got to do, right? Just get them to be 500-pound guys that are on the bench that you just bring in and sit down on the damn field. You don't want the Eagles to do the tush push. Tommy, I agree with you 100%. Stop them. Don't allow it to be 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. And I get the concept of, well, everyone should be able to do it. Everyone can't do it. We've seen Buffalo try to do it, and they have arguably a quarterback that's just as good, and they can't get it done. I hate the Philadelphia Eagles. I've said this a million times. Nothing makes me happier as a sports fan than watching Philadelphia lose. Nothing hurts me more as a sports fan than watching Philadelphia succeed. The amount of pain that I'm in right now, having to say that that team has won the big game, I'm not even giving them the pleasure of hearing them say or letting them hear me say the name of the team and what the game was. It's that team won the big game. That's how I refer to that team winning the big game. That's how much I cannot stand that team, their fan base, everything about them. I love Philadelphia Philly cheesesteaks. I'm a big fat guy. Of course I love Philly cheesesteaks. But everything else about them, absolute garbage, except for my friends that I know from Philadelphia. Well, I don't know, maybe them too. We'll see. Just depends on who it is. So the NFL now, along with saying, okay, maybe we outlaw the tush push, is saying, let's change the rules in overtime because now we have to make it an even playing field and it can't just be the first team to get a touchdown wins. It has to be blah, 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 blah. Maybe we go college rules and all these things to make people out there happy. The fan bases need to be happy because how dare they lose a game in overtime whenever all it is maybe you just hold a team to a damn field goal. It's not a foreign concept. It's sports. You either do it or you don't. I knew it was going to come down to that. I don't think no, they're not the same. I think they're both physically gifted quarterbacks that can run the ball. That's what I'm talking about, right? Buffalo has lined up in a tush push a bunch of times and they haven't been able to get it done. Because despite the fact that Josh Allen is, in my opinion, the most dynamic rushing quarterback there is out there, he can't do what Jalen Hurts does. It's not that easy. We all say, okay, line up, get it done, right? They just don't have that. So whenever you have a quarterback that squats 600 pounds and you have a running back that squats 600 pounds, you've got two guys back there that can push 1,200 pounds of just big, beefy, sweaty men around all they want, and it makes it a little easier for Philadelphia. Now, maybe Cooks can get into the gym and he can start squatting some more, right? Maybe Josh Allen could get in the gym and he can start squatting some more. They are not putting their body through what the preparation is for their body to do in order to be successful at that play. That's all I'm saying. Josh Allen as a runner, I would say equal if not better than Jalen Hurts, right? Like we cannot deny that Josh Allen is arguably the best rushing quarterback in the NFL right now, and I'm even saying that with Lamar Jackson. Cooks can't push paper, and I think that's it, right? Like how this is the product of again the NFL changing rules, right? So if you're going to Augustine saying, are those beefy men cleaning and being hygienic enough? I mean, it's just big, beefy, girthy men slapping meat against each other. That's what that comes down to. Just a big, just man on man action. I feel so bad for the Roku audience. You guys went, what, 3 days without me? 3 days without me. And I'm back. And I'm worse. Just big, beefy men. Yes, Josh Allen is good, but his teams need an extra something. Wide receiver help. That would once again going back to the AFC East. We spoke about that a couple of days ago. The AFC East draft some wide receiver help. I think if they can get a true number one or a true number two, like they were so much better with Amari Cooper than what people give them credit for. You've got to be able to find a way. You got to be able to find a way. Tommy Cananza saying what we're all thinking. Augustine, kind of sus, bro. Kind of sus. I'm the one that's egging it on, though. I'm just over here like big, beefy, sweaty men, glistening skin, hitting one another. I don't know if any of y'all have gone out and seen the movie Sex Drive, but if you haven't seen that movie, I suggest that you take some time to watch that movie. You get yourself in a mentally altered state so you can enjoy it even more. And you just have yourself a fun time. And you can get where I was going with that reference. Just a shiny vascularness. Now you've got what I'm going for. Watch the movie Sex Drive. 5 out of 5. I was gonna say plants. We'll say leaves. 5 out of 5 leaves. Again, I don't watch a lot of movies. I watch way too many stoner movies. Sex Drive. 2 tips up. Phrasing. But the tush push and everything, I love how we just get right back on the subject. But the tush push and all that came about because of, once again, an NFL rule change, a rule change that allowed players to start running up from behind and pushing to continue forward progress. Remember, I want to say this is like maybe 5 years ago, if not that long, where that was banned. You weren't able, as an offensive lineman, to run behind your running back or your quarterback and just give them a push to move the ball forward, right? We see it all the time in the NFL now where the forward progress looks like it's about to be stopped. A big fat man brings all his meat with him and just rams into people and moves the line further down the road until someone falls down, right? That happened in college. That was okay in college. And for whatever reason, we have this mindset in the NFL now of we've got to make it just like it is in college. It's got to be fair, just like it is in college, right? Let's bring in the college overtime rules, and now everyone's going to be happy because we get to have an even playing field. Maybe it's just the way I grew up. Maybe it's just, me looking the way I do compared to the way that Leonardo DiCaprio looks, or even the way that Tom Brady and that beautiful chiseled chin with just the perfect amount of scruff looks. Maybe it's just me, where I learned early on that goddamn life ain't fair, right? It's not fair. When you look at sports, is it fair? You have teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles out there that get to have all this success as of recent. And yet you're still surrounded by the Cleveland Browns, who are just in an absolute toilet bowl. Look at the NBA, right? Like the amount of teams in the NBA, the haves and the have-nots. The same thing with Major League Baseball, with hockey, with golf, with any word was going to come out here, expletive sport that's out there, whether it's team or individual, it's not always fair. You could even have guys, allegedly, who do roids in baseball that wind up being Barry Bonds, that are on the Mitchell Report list, followed by names like Fernando Vina and Chuck Knobloch. They are not the same, but they're doing the same damn drug to help out with performance. So even whenever you're taking drugs to hopefully be fair, it's not fair. Oh my God, who would have come up with that concept? Tommy Canazza saying, my kid said that you are kind of sus too, Mike. I've never denied that. Come on now. I wouldn't say it's sus. It's extremely comfortable in who I am. because I too am a big, beefy man just slapping meat. Augustine saying Costco men. I'm not too sure what Costco men means. But yes, sports ain't fair. Life ain't fair. If you don't want a team to win, stop them. Right? Like, it's such a novel concept. Stop them. You don't want Philadelphia to do the tush push on you? Oh, that came out wrong. That one I can say was kind of sus. That was not the intention of what I wanted it to be. I'm gonna have to cut that up and fix it. But if you don't want Philadelphia, I was gonna say to perform the tush push. Maybe we change the name. Yeah, we can change the name. We can agree on that. Like, let's not make it illegal. Let's just change the name. I liked, well, even that's kind of weird. The brotherly shove, the city of brotherly shove. You know, the more I think about this, Philadelphia, kind of sus. More sus than me. Extremely sus. Okay, so instead, maybe we rename it. That's what it's got to be, right? Maybe it's like the Eagle Angle or something like that we've got to come up with. Just something other than the tush push. Because as like a sports analyst, to sit up here and be like, well, Philadelphia was performing the tush push, makes it seem as though I've been watching some videos with Johnny Sins in it. Shout out to the massive group of people who know who Johnny Sins is, but won't admit it publicly. I got you. I know who you are. The awkward car ride right now with Tommy Cananta continuing. Sorry, Tommy. Augustine saying Agus Ferratu approves this show. If you missed it yesterday, we'll just do it one more time here. We have Agus Ferratu. Everyone's new favorite movie coming around soon. Agus Ferratu. If you don't like the rule, stop it. Right? Like every team has benefited or been, I guess, has lost because of the overtime rule. Every team has benefited or been a victim of the overtime rule. I'm still a fan of sudden death. Like genuinely I am. If you can't stop a team from going roughly 80 yards to get a touchdown and kill you, you kind of deserve what happens at the end, right? Like, maybe I will acquiesce and say, you know what? Let's not make it a field goal. It has to be a touchdown in order to win this game. And if you continue this way of we're in the NFL and we're going to make it college football style rules. Everyone gets the ball at the 25-yard line. You can get a first down. You can get 2 first downs and as many chances as it takes for you to get a touchdown and then kick field goal. And then the second overtime, it's got to be 2-point conversion, blah, 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 blah. These teams are so damn good and so damn talented that those games would last forever. And I don't think that we would enjoy the 25 yards that teams have to get. If you can't get 25 yards in overtime in the NFL, you don't deserve to win. And my whole mindset here is if you can't stop a team from going 80 yards and kicking a field goal or getting a touchdown and they win the game, then you deserve to lose. And I hate this mindset of, oh, well, it's because everyone's so tired at the end of the game. The defense is gassed by the time the game is over. You know what? So is the damn offense. You know why? Because they were playing football for 60 damn minutes. You're going to be tired. You're supposed to be tired at the end of the damn game. If you're not tired at the end of the game, were you even in the damn game? You don't want teams to win. Stop them. You don't want Philadelphia to do the tush push. Stop them. You don't want Philadelphia to perform the tush push upon you. Stop them. That's the one that I'm going to cut. 25 minutes on the dot. That's the one that I'm going to cut because that's going to be funny. People are going to look at me and be like, oh, yeah, he looks like he loves that. Roku, I'm sorry. Augustine saying my favorite rule ever was the no catch. Is that the Des Bryant one? Is that what you're talking about? If you hear color commentary without the football, it just sounds dirty. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, there's a lot of them where I think KLAQ, right? Like the Buzz Adams morning show used to do something like that. And I don't think it was exclusive to them. I know it came from like a server that was shared out to a bunch of radio stations throughout the country, but it would be like questionable moments in like football commentary. And a lot of it is like Troy Aikman, right? Like where Troy Aikman's like, man, I ain't never seen someone coming that much or that fast towards me. Like it was maybe it's just stuff like that. Tommy Canazzo saying, just take it back to sudden death like it used to be. It's a regular season game. No one wants to see a 6-hour regular season game. I agree with you on that. But I don't just say that about regular season. I want it for postseason too, because it's just better that way, right? Like I'm just knowing that your team can kind of march the ball down the field, especially postseason play now, where everyone in that Super Bowl was kind of confused, right? Tony Romo's getting raked over the coals because he's explaining in real time the first overtime in the Super Bowl where it's you can't tie. There has to be a gate, like it has to keep going. Why there's no 2-minute warning, why there's none of this, why there's none of that. It just like all of that just needs to go away, right? It's kind of going down to the same thing of we as football fans know what a catch is, and we also have no effing clue what a catch is. We all know what pass interference is, and we have no idea what pass interference is, right? Like that's what it's come down to with the NFL, especially over the last decade. Augustine saying Tony Romo is an amazing on-screen talent. He really is. I will never understand why or how Tony Romo gets the hate that he does. I get it that he's not predicting plays anymore like he used to, but I guarantee you if he still was, people out there would get so damn mad about it. They'd be like, oh, this guy, he thinks he's so smart. If he was so smart, he'd have won a Super Bowl and blah, 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 because that's what sports fans do. They just sit there and they complain and they complain and they scream into the abyss, much like I'm doing right now. But at least I have 4 people that comment on a show of mine because I like to hear what you guys have to say back to me. And if I'm wrong, like I have been about both the Pittsburgh Steelers being better than the Baltimore Ravens and Joe Burrow being equal to Dak Prescott, the only reason why I'm wrong there is because Dak Prescott is exponentially better than Joe Burrow. Take that, internet. I'm going to get murdered by a Bengals fan one day. I genuinely feel like that's going to happen. And if it does, it does. I am fine with it. I have earned my stripes. See what I did there? Augustine saying Antonio Romo was and still is the best quarterback Dallas has ever had. You will not get an argument from me on that. I wholeheartedly agree. Tony Romo is, to me at least, a first ballot Hall of Famer. Whenever you can look at the pantheon of Dallas Cowboys quarterbacks, right? Whether it's Roger Staubach, whether it's Troy Aikman, whether it's Danny White or like any of these other old school name quarterbacks, and then bring it to now the future, Dak Prescott, right? When you look at them and you see Tony Romo is head and shoulders above them all in all quarterback statistics, that says something, right? Because the Dallas Cowboys offense, let's not forget, They were the fancy ones that introduced the shotgun offense. I know this is going to sound weird for a lot of younger people out there, but the Dallas Cowboys created the shotgun offense, perfected it. They were the ones that started having the ball get flung around all over the place because Roger Staubach was that guy, right? Troy Aikman, one of the most accurate quarterbacks of all time, really got to lean on, I have the best running back of all time right here running with me. Let me just hand him the ball, but I'll throw whenever I need to. And look at how amazing my targets are with Michael Irvin, Jay Novacek, and Alvin Harper, right? Like the Dallas Cowboys had a squad around Troy Aikman. Tony Romo did this with the majority of his career throwing to guys like Miles Austin, throwing to guys like Terrence Glenn, right? Like, yes, he had Des Bryant, but we saw maybe it was Tony Romo that made Des Bryant who he was, right? We could say he had Terrell Owens. Cool. He had him for a small period of time. Look how dynamic that Cowboys offense was when they actually invested into the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the one thing they never had with Tony Romo until later in his career was a great running game. They finally get it. He gets DeMarco Murray. They're moving the ball down the field. They're marching their way towards history. And then it all goes away. Dez caught it, but he didn't catch it. And according to the rules, now it would be a catch. But the rules back then, it's not a catch because the NFL changes what a catch is more than I change underwear. And that's at least once or twice every 10 years. That's a joke, guys. Change your underwear. You need to. Or don't wear any at all. Sorry, Tommy. I forgot that you have children in the car. Don't listen to that advice, kids. Take care of yourselves. Augustine saying Prescott better than Burrow just sounds like a bad pun to an extremely bad joke. It's not. It's not. The only thing that Joe Burrow is better than with Dak Prescott is he's a better looking dude. Joe Burrow on the man crush list ahead of Dak Prescott. Think about that. Jesus Christ, man. I sound good. I'm feeling better. I just have whatever it is, and that's going to come off as sus. I just have whatever it is in my throat. This has been a bad day for just really bad puns. I apologize. I don't. You know what? I don't. I'm me. You already know who I am. Most of you have been, you've either known me for the better part of a decade, or you've been watching this show long enough to have understood what this is. I'm done apologizing for being me. Completely unapologetically me now. And if it comes off as sus, then girl, you better get used to it. Oh, I've got no problems with it. I'm happy. I remember once, whenever I was working at a 600 ESPN El Paso, and shout out to Adrian Broadus and Steve Kaplowitz. I got to run into them the other day at the El Paso Chihuahuas and El Paso Locomotive food tasting event that we had over at Southwest University Park. An absolutely fun time. That was great. Absolutely great. While I was working there, I remember someone called into the show. They didn't want to be on air. They just wanted to tell me that I need to lay off the testosterone. And I sat back and I thought to myself, this is the first time in my life I've ever been told something negative about my voice being too damn deep. Tommy Canazzo saying, Tony Romo is the Cowboys' GOAT, period. Would have been better you put period or the T at the end of it. Would have been better. Expect more from you, Tommy. You want to be hood. Pinky saying, you have the beginning of what I had for 2 months, RSV and minor pneumonia. Don't put that on me, dude. Do not put that on me. Look, compared to what I sound like now, incrementally better than what I sounded like just a couple of damn days ago. Like, I am finally getting over whatever it was that I had, and that's what it is. Pinky saying, maybe you got sick at the media stuff your face day. Oh, man, that's a great day. Just all of the hot dogs. Once again, just big, meaty meat. And nachos. Oh, my God, dude, the nachos. Always amazing. And saying, take care of yourself, dude. I am. I am going through all the steps that I can. Started working out, running, doing stuff like that. Already lost 5 pounds from Monday till today. A lot of that might have been from the food event. That's a joke. That's a joke. Do not run with that. I probably shouldn't have said it, but do not run with that. Or, you know what? I would have lost more if not for the food event because Brandon the Iceman Cone and I, whoa, we went to town on some of them hot dogs. I wanted to Lady and the Tramp one of them, but he just didn't want to do that with me. I'll never understand why my friends don't want a Lady and the Tramp a hot dog with me. I'm going to cut that as well. I did that on purpose, guys. I apologize. I don't apologize. Tommy Canazzo saying, conspiracy theory time. Here we go. I am with it. Let's go. Conspiracy theory time. The NFL knew Dallas would win the Super Bowl in 2014, so they stopped them with the Dez no catch thing. Then that means that they would have had to, like, orchestrated the entire game, right? Like, not just the one catch. Or unless you're saying, look, this is our opportunity. Now we can take it away, and now we can do this, right? Because I will say this. It's better for the NFL that the Dallas Cowboys don't win. And I know for a lot of people that's going to sound like sacrilege, right? Because I've said it a bunch myself that if it was rigged, the Dallas Cowboys would be in the Super Bowl. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But if you have the NFL product that we have now, of we can talk about the Dallas Cowboys being bad all year round. You get to profit off of that as much as possible, right? Like that keeps your product in the news as much as possible, because if the Dallas Cowboys win the Super Bowl, the narrative isn't going to get to be from what all the media outlets out there are. Oh man, the Cowboys are so good. How do you stop the Cowboys? No, that's not going to run ratings. People hate the Dallas Cowboys. Again, there's two things here. You either love them or you hate them. There is no gray area. Not with the Dallas Cowboys. There is with every other team out there. Whether it's Kansas City, whether it's Philadelphia, whatever it is. That's what it is. Augustine saying hood in El Paso is anything in El Paso. I'll agree with that. It's always so funny to me too, because like the different places that I've lived, like, again, I grew up in Socorro, man. Like, back in my day, and Jaime, I think it was a little different for you, but back in my day, we used to have drive-bys all the time. I've been shot. Like, there's things here that, like, you grow up seeing and different times, right? And then my dad being customs, we had a house that was by itself next to a bunch of cotton fields, right? And there was always drive-bys. It was crazy, the fact that there were drive-bys when we were the only house in the neighborhood. I wonder who they're targeting, right? So, like, that was a normal thing in the early to mid 90s, maybe even going into the late 90s, of, you know, a lot of things going out there. We used to see, like, torsos floating in the canals and things like that, right? So growing up in Socorro in that point in time was a little bit different. So whenever I moved to like Goldsboro, North Carolina, and I'm being told by people, man, don't go out that gate, because if you go out this specific gate, you know, they're going to try to carjack you. And you know, we don't know how you boys in Texas do it, but you know, these are some pretty tough dudes. And I looked them straight in the eyes and said, I wish an MF would. Like, I try it, right? Like, I dare you, try it. The same thing walking around like New York, the same thing walking around different places that I've lived. I've got no problems. I know you're not going to mess with me, because if you mess with me, my mindset has always been, you might kick my ass, but you're going to remember who the F I am, right? Like, it's that simple. That is my mindset when it comes to any of this stuff. So, you know, growing up in El Paso, growing up like down there in Socorro, I knew straight up, no matter where I went, no matter what hood I went to, I was going to be all right. I'm going to be good, right? And it's not me trying to act tough or any of that stuff. It's just I grew up in Socorro watching dead bodies floating the canal, getting drive-bys. Hell, dude, I was in 3rd grade watching a dude at Keys Academy get shot in the back of the head while I'm walking home. Think about that, right? Like it's a different world that we grew up in Socorro back in the 90s. Like that was a completely different time. And Jaime, I think if you are what your class of 71 from Socorro, I know that you were in the military for a while. I don't know when you came back to the El Paso area, but I guarantee you it was a lot different back then. Augustine saying conspiracy theory, everybody hates Dallas since Jimmy Johnson left the team. That's not even a conspiracy theory. That's the actual fact of it all. Jaime saying, well, Augustine, after the 1996 Super Bowl win, Barry won with Jimmy's players. That's 100% the way it is. Jaime saying, that's when it went to stupid Soko. Yep. Saying was first started when you were there. Like I say, just a kid from cotton and alfalfa fields from Socorro. And that was the craziest thing to me, man. Like, we still had the cotton fields. We still had all that stuff. And it was just drive-by after drive-by after drive-by. All the gangs, all the things that was going on back in the day. I remember having to, eat on the floor sometimes. I just hanging out, doing my thing. You knew what was going to happen on a Friday night. And a lot of that, like, again, my dad was in the United States Customs Service for 46 years, right? So he was directly responsible for putting a ton of people in jail. He was a port director at a couple of bridges throughout the El Paso area. So he was responsible for a lot of things, and we would just get a lot of those all the time. Like it was a crazy thing. Tommy Canasa saying, I grew up in the Northeast, specifically Devil's Triangles in the 90s. I know all about that, man. It was that early 90s part of El Paso that just, man, that was a different time, man. That was a different time. I remember I used to think to myself, for the Roku audience, if you're new to the show, just get used to the weird stories that are going to happen, man. Sometimes we do story time. There's not a lot happening in the world of sports. You want me to talk about Knicks and Sixers? I can talk about the Knicks and the Sixers. That was a snooze fest, right? You want me to talk about sports? I'm cool with it. Send me an email. Follow me on Instagram. Do all the stuff. Message me what you want me to talk about. But a lot of the times it's just going to be the lazy river takes us where the lazy river takes us, right? So I remember one of the drive-bys I saw, I was like in 2nd grade, and I'm walking home. I think my sister was with me, but I know one of like my younger friends, her name was Ricky, she was with me. We're walking home and we see someone, they're pulling up on people. The gun comes out the window and it's just bop, 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 bop. Everyone hits the ground, car speeds off, right? I don't even think they hit anybody that time. And it was a damn Ford. Oh, what's that stupid ass car? The little 2-door Ford, a Ford Escort. It was a 2-door Ford Escort. And I remember thinking to myself, a drive-by in a 2-door Ford Escort. Man, this ain't Boys in the Hood where they're doing drive-bys in 67 Chevelles or not Chevelles, Impalas, you know what I mean? Like where they're doing things in like some lowriders, some nice looking cars. We're doing our drive-bys in 2-door Ford Escorts. Better. It finally came to me. It was a Ford Probe. It was that weird green Ford Probe. Everyone has seen, at least at one point in time, especially if you grew up in El Paso, everyone has seen that ugly ass green. It was like a teal type Ford Probe where the windows rolled down and it was just pop, 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 pop. Didn't hit nobody and speeds off. A drive-by in a Ford Probe. Who'd have thunk it? What a wild life we've lived. Jesus Christ. If you grew up in El Paso in the 90s, shout out to you for surviving because, man, there was a lot of stupid stuff going on at that point in time. Augustine saying it wasn't like that in the Willows. Tommy Canazzo saying Augustine is not very good at conspiracy theories. Just saying. Destiny saying eat dinner on the floor on a Friday night, away from the doors and away from the windows. Jaime saying I stayed at Alamogordo till 2019. I came to visit my pops and other family all the time. My cars would automatically drive to and from Alamogordo's Holloman Air Force Base to Socorro, Texas. US 54 was 2 lanes at that time. Man, I used to go up through there all the time, especially that Alamogordo area to Cloudcroft, Ruidoso, all that stuff, because we moved mobile homes through there. So imagine moving mobile homes on a 2-lane highway at like 40 miles an hour. And especially whenever they started doing the construction and stuff like that, oh man, it became a nightmare. It became an absolute nightmare. Where the hell did we end up on this conversation? That's what I want to know. I'm normally really good at being like, I remember where the point was that we left off. I can just come back to that. Y'all have seen it 1,000 times where I'll be like, blah, 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 blah. Let's get back to the tush push, right? What the hell was the conversation that led us down this way? Actually, you know what? Yeah, it was talking about the way that I grew up, right? Like it was just a little different back in the day. We knew life wasn't fair. You either win, you lose, whatever it is, but you give it an effort. That's all that you can do. B Grant saying, "Yo, good morning, brethren and Des." And the car was a pony, same color and all, but it was a pony. Hey man, I mean, yeah, Ford at that point, that ugly ass teal green that Ford had at that point, man, like, oh, but I just remember thinking that too, a Ford Probe. They did a drive-by on a Ford Probe. I can only imagine what Mac and the crew, like all them, like obviously they don't know much about your boy. They're just like, hey, that guy sounds good. He's got a sports show. Maybe we bring him on. And I constantly sit here and think to myself, do they regret this decision? I think today's story time of let's talk about drive-bys in Socorro. I did not have that on my bingo card today. If you had that on the bingo card today, you won. I don't know what you won, but you won because that was not something that I was prepared to talk about today. A different time. Just a different time, my friends. Salute to all of y'all out there. Tommy Canazza saying, my mom had a teal green Mercury Topaz back in the early 90s. I'm telling you, man, there was some Ford. I don't know what the hell you were thinking, how the hell you got that teal green on every type of car. I'm sure that like there had to be like some really badass Lincoln Town cars that were that ugly ass teal green. I think, yeah, my sister had like a Mercury Sable that was that same teal green. That's an ugly ass color, man. I get mad at people because my car is champagne colored, right? So it's like silver, but it's got a little bit of like a brownish tint to it. Like it's weird, and I get mad whenever people are like, "Yeah, your car's brown." Like it's just brown. I can imagine what it would be like if I had that ugly ass green on any car from back in the day. Just be absolutely gross. Okay, how do we do this here? So I've got roughly 11 minutes to try to talk about the NFL draft and what we were doing with our teams. But I kind of don't want to. So, you know what? We'll push that to tomorrow. We'll talk about the AFC South, the team needs, things like that till tomorrow. I really wanted to get to this story here of the potential number 1 draft pick in the NFL, Abdul Carter, and the news that came out yesterday that he has a stress reaction in his right foot and that he might need to have surgery heading into the NFL draft. And to me, that's always a risky decision, right? Like, obviously, he can play through some pain because that has to hurt him being able to do that. Abdul Carter playing on the stress reaction in his foot. Now, what that means is it's not a stress fracture. It just means that it can really develop into a stress fracture at any time while he's either working out, while he's on the field. Just it's bad, right? Like the potential for something catastrophic is there with this stress reaction in his right foot. My guy Hawk Scott tuning in. What's up, Hawk? Hope you're doing well. I want to give a shout out to Hawk. He joined us on Bob, Jim, and Pat Get Drunk on the Internet on Saturday while he was in a plane. And he's just like hanging out. We're talking. We're having a good old time. And out of nowhere, shout out to that flight attendant for doing her job. She's like, yo, Tip, Hawk needs to go. We're about to take off right now. And I was like, you know what, Hawk? You got to go. We'll talk to you later, my guy. Tommy Canazza saying, woohoo, Carter falls to 12. Welcome to Dallas. I think that would be good, but it also reminds me of, I had his name in my head. Smith, 54. Notre Dame. Can't think of his first name right now. It's with an R, isn't it? I'm getting there. But anyway, whenever Smith fell to Dallas, right? Like he had the ACL injuries, it was with Notre Dame, had to miss the year, had to do all that, right? Never really lived up to the potential that people saw in him. And even whenever Dallas got rid of him and he goes over to Green Bay, he was kind of just bouncing around later to later and doing all those things. Hawk said, yes, he did talk to me a little bit later. He was at Disney whenever he talked to me. My guy Hawk, you are an inspiration, my dude. Like legitimately you are. The amazing things that you do, not just whenever you were here in the city of El Paso with Parks and Rec, but the stuff that you're doing now over in Santa Ana, it's awesome. You're doing some amazing things, my dude. He's even FaceTimed me at like amazing football games. Tommy can also saying, imagine Carson's and Carter coming off the edge. Like, I would love that. I would love that, dude. I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, how difficult would it be to come back from that injury? Because in that sport, specifically that sport, I guess any sport, basketball, football, we can say mainly, when you get the foot issues remain, right? Like the push off, everything that you got isn't going to be the same that it was back then. Augustine saying, so I've got an important meeting right now. We'll see. Nice to see y'all. Augustine, got nothing but love for you, my dude. Enjoy that meeting. Kill it. I know you got it. There we go. Mater D football. I'm pretty sure I said that. Isn't it Maitre D? I have to think about it. I know it's said a little different. I'm just trying to come up with it in my head. So maybe you got to spell it out phonetically for me, Hawk. I'm not a smart man. I'm not a smart man, but I do know what love is. That had to be the worst Forrest Gump I think I've ever done. Also, I don't think my voice translates to Forrest Gump very well. Not very Gumpian of me. But Tommy, what I'm saying is that foot injury, that scares me, man. Like that genuinely scares me. Like, obviously, I feel like a team is going to take a flyer on him in the in the first round. But I genuinely feel like if this was like, the early 2000s, if this was like the 90s, hell, even the early 2010s, this is the type of injury that takes a dude from the first round to like the fourth round, right? Like, because you don't know what you're going to get back. If he has to have surgery on that foot, the chances of him being completely healthy this year are de minimis, right? Like there's not a real opportunity for it. Tommy's saying I sound more like Bubba. I just think of like stuff Bubba says. Like it's just coming to the only thing I could think of is like grill shrimp, broil shrimp. That's probably problematic. I probably shouldn't do that. that could turn into a lot of problems for you, boy. Well, I'll work on it. I'll work on my Forrest and I'll work on my Bubba, and I'll have a conversation of just Forrest talking to Bubba. Okay, so the Tennessee Titans are drafting number 1. And a lot of the people were saying, okay, well, maybe the Titans go after Abdul Carter. Hell, I said it yesterday, right? Titans go after Abdul Carter just because they need help on the defensive line. I happen to like Will Levis. I know that's not a popular opinion, but I happen to like Will Levis. I think Will Levis is not just a serviceable quarterback. I think he's, compared to what else you have in the AFC South, he could be the second best quarterback there, right? Like Trevor Lawrence isn't living up to what we expected Trevor Lawrence to be. That might just be he needs a change of scenery. Who knows, right? But as of right now, that's not a division that you can say this team has it locked up. I don't trust the Houston Texans. I think the Houston Texans got very lucky last year in a lot of their games, and they're going to revert back to the norm, right? Will Levis can get you to the playoffs. You need help on the defensive line and the receiving core. That's what you need to address. Now, with this injury to Abdul Carter, knowing that there is kind of a need for it, why wouldn't you go after Travis Hunter? Right? Like, I don't think you go after Cam Ward. Cam Ward shouldn't be the number one overall pick for the Tennessee Titans. I just, to me, I don't see a vast difference between Will Levis and Cam Ward. Like, I don't see it, but I'm also the same guy that thinks Dak Prescott is better than Joe Burrow just because I know it pisses people off. Right? But genuinely, I don't see a huge difference between them. Like I think both their upside is about the same. I can see Travis Hunter being one of those guys that like changes everything for the franchise for the Tennessee Titans. So now that we have this injury to Abdul Carter, maybe that kind of stops me if I'm Tennessee from saying I'll take this guy with the number one overall pick. We get Travis Hunter. We got a two-way, maybe three-way, four-way player that we can have on our team for a long period of time. I'm a happy guy. Tommy Canassa saying Carter is special. He's not falling past 15, maybe even the top 10. I agree, man. Like, again, I know. I understand where we're coming from. People are special. You have certain talents that are out there that are just amazing, right? But those foot injuries are nightmare type injuries, man. How many times have we seen can't miss prospects just have an injury history? And especially whenever it's on the foot for a defensive lineman, man, you're pushing off that thing all the time. That's going to be a tough one to come back from. That's the same thing that I keep thinking with Aiden Hutchinson, right? I love Aiden Hutchinson. I got to meet the guy in person, so much bigger in person than people think he actually is. But he's coming off of that compound fracture that he had in his leg. What's his get off going to be like? That's the right phrase, though. Like, that's what it's called. What's his get off going to be like? That's exactly what I think about whenever you got a guy coming into the league with a stress reaction. Again, not a stress fracture, but it can lead to that. And if you have that type of injury, who knows? Okay, so let me look at this. We're saying, Tommy, you're asking a great question, and I probably should have dove a little bit deeper into that. When did the injury happen? Let's see if we have anything here in the article that says when it happens. Medical exams Wednesday. Finally, the best player in the country. Overall health. Number 2. It doesn't have a time frame of when the injury actually happened. So I think I'll have to do a little bit more of a deep dive on this. But I feel like if it was an injury that he had all season long, that would be in the article, right? Like, Carter sustained this injury in the 5th game of the season and played all the way through it, or Carter played in the CFP playoff with this injury. Like, it seems like that, right? Tommy Canassa saying scared money don't make money, Mike. Goddamn. I'm with you on that. I genuinely am with you on that. But we are also talking about, you're the guy the other day talking about Tyler Guyton, right? It's a project. This dude coming off an injury, that could be a project. Now, obviously, if the Cowboys get him, I'm a happy guy. I'm a genuinely happy guy. Either him or Ashton Genty, I'm a happy guy if I'm the Dallas Cowboys. But it's always going to be in the back of my head. Kind of the same thing that it was with Victor Wembanyama. I didn't think about blood clots. I thought about feet and ankles. That was always my issue with the dude that's 7'5". Feet and ankles. What's that going to age like? How is that going to continue in the NBA? You're coming into the league with this foot problem? Man. And that would be the question, right? If he was playing with that injury all year long, it didn't stop him. If there's always a possibility the injury could have happened while he was practicing last week or last month or just anything like that, right? All right, everybody, I want to thank you so much for tuning into today's show. Roku, I apologize. I don't, but I just like saying it. I want to thank you all so much for being a part of the show. We will be back tomorrow. We will talk about the AFC South and the NFC South. It's also a Friday, so get your questions ready. Any questions you want to ask, we got those going on as well. I'll put them out on social media. We'll talk about some of the questions that you guys want to talk about. Of course, everyone, I want to thank you so much for being a part of today's show. We will see you tomorrow.